Okay, today was a type of trade day where there was actually no A rank setups because overnight the market tanked all the way down in that overnight session and then continued throughout the New York session. So it completely traded away from all the value levels, completely traded away from anywhere there was stacked confluences. So we had really one multi-confluence trade today, which is one that I actually took. I was streaming the New York session inside my school group, and I took a couple of trades during the New York session, one on the ES and one on gold, which we'll break down in a second. But in today's episode, I'm going to break down how you can use the S&P and the Nasdaq as not correlation, but a way to scope out the better trade setup. Okay, so we'll have a look at the charts in a second and look at how to use those two. But first, I'll break down the trade that I took during the New York session last night, which in my opinion was the only, not even in my opinion, it literally was the only setup volume profile that was closer to an A rank setup. Have a look at the trade here. This is the trade I ended up taking. It was a pretty close call on the stop loss. I kept a pretty tight stop loss. I was just getting in. It was New York Open, right? It had not even been half an hour yet. So I was trading literally off with the overnight value area low. It had not yet been half an hour, so I couldn't use any confluences from the developing profile yet. It was very, very early in the session, so not counting that. But it was using the overnight value area low. And something that I haven't really shared on this channel yet either is using a high volume node from the just recently closed session. The only time I ever consider using high volume nodes from previous profiles is only if we've just opened a new auction, a new profile. So that New York session had just opened 9:30, had not yet, put in its own nodes. Seeing as we've just come off putting in these nodes, I will look back and just refer to these. So we had overnight value low sitting right here, which you can see was actually the top of the New York session once again. Again, if these don't make you a believer in volume profile, don't know what will, because overnight value low really was the top of the day, high of the day. I got short at the high of the day there, and obviously not knowing it was high of the day, overnight value low, and I had my stop loss sitting behind this node, little small skinny node, all right? I don't put too much importance on really skinny nodes like this, but it's still something I'd like to have my stop loss behind. So small skinny node in there, stop loss behind the skinny node, and take profit wasn't arbitrary either. The take profit was taking profit back at this node here that we'd put in this concentration of volume down here. So I pulled that take profit into here, and if you were inside the school live stream, you saw that trade play out in real time. It came up, pushed slightly above overnight value low, hit that skinny node and reversed and came straight back down. I got out for a quick one-to-one on this particular trade, and that ended up obviously running down all the way through, making a new low for the session. So that was today's trade setup. Now I'm going to show you something. This was on the ES, right? The S&P 500. I'm going to show you something here. Okay, so if we pull up also side by side the Nasdaq. Okay, so if we go here and go boom and pull up the Nasdaq on one and the ES on the other. Okay, so there's the trade on ES, right? Overnight value low. The market did pull up to the overnight value low and gave that trade setup, right? It gave the trade setup from overnight value low. The ES tested its overnight value low, boom, and it gave that trade setup. However, if we look at the Nasdaq didn't quite make it to its overnight value low. There's the overnight value low level for Nasdaq, right across at 901, and the market pulled up and didn't quite make it to the level for the setup and pulled away, and that was the high of the day for Nasdaq too. So what I've been telling people inside the school is that you can have both Nasdaq and the ES open at the same time, have the levels on the chart, have those setups you're looking to trade, and sometimes you'll find that one tests the level and the other doesn't. So take the trade on the one where the level gets tested. You can have basically a mental limit order sitting, or even a physical limit order sitting on both. Okay, and whichever one gets triggered first, you take and you cancel the other one. And sometimes what you'll even get as well is that we had this a couple of nights ago in the London live stream inside school, was that we had a similar situation, but the S&P 500 had an A rank set up for me. It had a high volume node and a double stack level, the A rank setup forming, whereas on the NQ, it was only a C rank. There was only the level and no node and no stack level. So on NQ, it was a C rank trade. On ES, it was an A rank trade. So we ended up taking the A rank trade on ES because it had more confluences and more reason for something to happen on the ES. And in fact, the ES trade ended up playing out a lot more clean than the NASDAQ trade did, even though they move in a very similar way. The ES trade was a lot cleaner, less drawdown because we had extra confluences, the high volume nodes, and the stack levels, versus NASDAQ where it was just a single level. So guys, don't be afraid to watch multiple things at once. The example here, the ES gave the overnight value low test and the NASDAQ did not. The NASDAQ came up and said, yo, show us ad please, just pulled away. So keep an eye on both. Other than that, guys, there was no A rank setup today for New York, which is unusual, but we had a pretty unusual movement last night in the markets with that complete meltdown during the overnight session and then continuation into New York. And the rest of today's trading session was literally, if you were going to trade the New York session today, the rest of it was literally just playing the range of the developing profile. The other trade that was taken was here on gold, quite literally the same as the ES trade, but except it was previous week's point of control. We had broken underneath previous week's point of control, pulled back, and we had a high volume node reinforcing that previous week point of control for one of my favorite type of volume profile setups, a reinforced level break and retest. That was a nice easy short on gold there on the live stream last night as well, for a nice double confluence trade going into the New York Open on gold as well. So we're about to go into our weekly group coaching session here in school just after posting this video on YouTube. So if you want to go a little bit deeper or you want to catch the daily live streams inside of school, we're now doing New York on a regular basis as well. That link is pinned in the comments below. Otherwise, I'll see you again tomorrow for the end of the week.